Cosmic Confluence podcast. I'm your host, Sana, as always. And today, I invite all of you to settle in with us as though you are sitting right here with us right now, with me, with my guest, listening, breathing, and opening to something beyond the ordinary. Now, we often think of healing as a personal journey rooted only in our past or psychology. But listeners, just wonder, just imagine what if healing also comes from the realms far beyond, through the whispers of the galactic guides, the care of spirit surgeons, and the wisdom of star ancestors. Listeners, my guest today, Vandana Atara Noorah, she knows this path intimately. Growing up in a dysfunctional and often toxic home environment, she had to become her own healer, navigating trauma, reparenting her inner child, and transforming pain into resilience. Today, she shares her gifts as a psychic empath, teacher, and guide for others on the path of recovery and empowerment. So let's all lean in together, open minded, maybe a little skeptical, but definitely curious, definitely open minded, as we explore how higher dimensional guidance can help us raise our vibration and truly transform. So, Vandana, welcome to the show. And as always, it is such an honor to have you here with us.
It is such an honor to be here with you and your listeners. Thank you so much for having me back again, Sana.
Thank you, Vandana. Oh my goodness, I'm really, really excited for this. I'm really curious to know what exactly we have in store for today. So before that, Vandana, I would like to bring in first the skepticism here because
Sure.
oftentimes, we whatever we are not able to see or we see that there is no proof out there, we often dismiss it, telling that, it's all woo woo or it's all pseudoscience or stuff like that. So,
Yes.
skeptics, they often ask, how do we know that galactic guides, star ancestors, they are real and not just our imagination? Like in your journey, Vandana, what convinced you that these connections, they are for real and authentic?
Those are all wonderful questions. And it's good to ask questions. It's actually recommended to live in the question. And for me personally, I channel a lot of divine guidance from angels, archangels, even
Mhm.
totem animal medicine guides, and all types of protector allies from different realms, different dimensions. Because we know that there are many, many planets and star systems and worlds, realities, not just ours on Earth, right?
Yeah.
So we are multidimensional. We're infinite beings. Um, we all have our unique soul print, and we
Mm.
all come from different places, but and also different dimensions, because we're multi-dimensional. And some say we have multiple soul, so not just one soul. In my experience, when I was deep in meditation and I was facilitating some healing workshops, they just came in. I just became aware of them as they became aware of me, like a team. Like we all have a support
Mhm.
system, a spirit team that is not necessarily existing in the same dimension as we do. And I realized that all of the problems that we've created, the man made problems, human problems on
Mhm.
this earth realm, the only way to actually access the highest solution, or I should
Mhm.
say the quantum solution, is from contacting and communicating with higher realms, right? So
Mhm.
solutions cannot be found in the same realm as the ones that created it. So we have to access a higher realm. We have to be willing to travel a little bit. I mean, we're not physically traveling, but you can say we're astrally traveling or we're soul traveling, but we are accessing our higher self first. We want to uh we want to take our time so it's a safe soul travel on our journeys, and we want to have a guide, whether it's with me or another healer, a coach, a therapist, or someone who, or a shaman who can hold space for us as we journey so that it feels gentle yet powerful. And we really receive the quantum solutions, the answers, and the missing information that's just not available on this planet. And so, little by little, gradually over time, I started receiving messages and downloads, right? Or you can say uploads, cosmic uploads and downloads from the higher realms and mostly from the Arcturians. Um, that was my first spirit team that came through for me. And once I realized that I was able to receive major transformational healing from this group of beings, I would just continue to be skeptical, but also experiment and explore and see like, hey, is this real? And then I would literally receive answers in dream time, receive clarity, insights, and guidance, 24/7. Mostly when I would wake up in the middle of the night when the veil is the thinnest, I would receive, the solutions to my problems. And then I realized that, well, if I have the spirit team in the higher dimensions, the Arcturians, and also I work with um star seeds from planet Sirius as well as Arcturus. We all come from different planets, different star system. We're all star seeds. We're all made of stars, right? Star dust. Yeah. So we're living in a physical body on the earth. Yeah, but we're also crystalline. So there's a lot to explore and to unpack here. But I think the most important message I want to share with people is that we're not alone. You're not alone. We all have um our helpers, our protectors, if you will, our allies from different dimensions. We can't see them like you said before, but we can feel them. We can use our psychic gifts and abilities that we're all born with, or our clairsentience, which is the sensations that we experience in our bodies when we really tune in and get out of our own way, right? When we drop out of our ego, drop into our heart space, and really open and expand our consciousness. And there are ways to do this that I teach all of my students and clients where it doesn't really have to be so mysterious. So I like to take the mystery out of this this process so that everyone feels that they can do it too, that this gift or this ability, being an empath especially, it's that everyone can learn how to do this. So it's not just like 1% of the population that has these special gifts and nobody else can learn it. It is learnable, right? And we're mostly born with these gifts and abilities that are passed on from our ancestors anyway. So if we can spend more quality time checking in, going inside, and just really exploring our inner world, that will give us the key or the access to the higher worlds, to the information that's missing in this limited reality, right? So we really want to do that. And it really is not only fun, but it's really enjoyable. And it helps us to release a lot of stories, a lot of false beliefs and limitations that are just not true that we think belongs to us, but it really doesn't. It was just passed on to us from our ancestors, but earth and star ancestors, right? Because this is not our first incarnation, most likely. We've been here before. right? But we all come from different planets and it's really a wonderful feeling to be able to tap into the resources, the unconditional love and the peace and that soul familiarity from our soul families, especially from the ones on our home planet, right? That we miss. Because many of us don't even feel that we belong on this planet, right? I know for me,
Mm.
I don't know about you, but I have most of my life, especially in childhood, I've always known I was very sensitive and I always felt very different, kind of like an outsider on this planet. Like, I've just observed and witnessed like just so much at a very young age that I used to also question and wonder, do I really belong here? Why was I dropped onto this planet? Right. And I know many of us, especially the ones that are very psychic and sensitive, also experience the same type of feeling. Right. And so
Mm.
I think when we tap into this realm in the higher dimensions, it not only lifts us, our vibration, so it raises and elevates us, but it also expands our awareness and consciousness that there are other life forms. And it's not only us on this planet. We do have helpers, thousands and trillions of helpers and guides and guardians and mentors and advisors. We even have spirit doctors. So we have spirit surgeons. We have all types of guides. And it's it's something that we all have the ability and the power to tap into to receive the help that's just not available here in this 3D reality.
That's beautiful explained, Vandana. Beautifully. And a few things which I genuinely wish to appreciate in that, first of all, you really kind of demystified it. Because we usually think that, this is a gifted, this is gifted, very few people have this ability, but every one of us have this innate ability in there. It's just that we need that push, that awareness, that realization from inside out to, kind of activate these senses.
Yeah.
That's where you mentioned that, in order to get to that world, we need to first look into our inner world, the inner universe, the cosmos within us. Um,
Absolutely.
and
We have to do the inner work before we can ascend. And we need to all the light workers kind of gather together simultaneously to really create this paradigm shift that we actually need not only to survive the changes that are happening, the divisiveness on this planet, but to really expand and to save our lives, but we have to access a higher consciousness and awareness based on compassion and loving kindness.
so, and I have two questions, Manu.
Sure.
First of all, um, now if I can bring up some of the moments or thoughts that sometimes they race within my mind. Of course, I'm patient upon asking, who am I? Who is this person speaking from within me?
Right.
You know, like, is this just the body, or I'm kind of, in someone's body? These kind of, very weird questions. Initially, I used to feel very weird, but
Mhm.
thanks to connecting with so many people out there, now I know it's nothing,
Right.
extraordinary. This is something innate. This is something, when we are kind of in that space of clarity and curiosity, we often, keep on asking ourselves. Secondly,
Yes.
I mean, why exactly is that? And secondly, Vandana, you mentioned about getting those signs or the answers to the questions or solutions to the
Mhm.
problems during your during a sleep, especially in the middle of the night, when you kind of, woke up and got all these answers. So
Yes.
Did you get the clear answers, or were there some kind of subtle indications or signs or clues that
That's
helped you get
right.
to the answer?
Exactly. So part of our soul growth process and expansion into our true self, our most authentic self, or you can call it our higher selves. This includes not only nighttime awareness or visions or just awareness that comes to you, kind of like the answers that are not available during our waking hours, but it also happens during our waking hours. Really, you can access this higher dimensional information and awareness anytime, especially when you just sit, hold your hands over your heart, just breathe, and just try to kind of move beyond, any heart walls or barriers around you
Mm.
and just really expand until you feel that there is no separation between you and the entire universe, and you and the solar system, and you and the Milky Way galaxy, so that you are not feeling disconnected from this information,
Mm.
because everyone deserves to receive this help. And the way that I experience this help, this divine intervention, this guidance and assistance is through lots of times synchronicities.
Mhm.
It could be a conversation that I just happen to overhear, or maybe I'm divinely guided to open an email that would really answer all my questions there. It sometimes
Mhm.
could come through uh, a song, or even a podcast, or just like reuniting with the members of my soul family, like you. I do feel that there are no accidents, right? And so when we experience these epiphanies or these synchronicities, right, that's how we know, that's confirmation. We just have to remember how to trust our intuition, right?
Mm.
By living in our heart space, not our head space, trusting your gut, trusting your bodily sensations in the form of, like chills, sudden chills, or
Mhm.
sweating all of a sudden, or all of these things, or just like somehow magically connecting with the right people and support system, right? Where we can support each other. And so the information comes through different people in different ways, but we know that this universe is made of energy, space, and consciousness. So the more consciousness or awareness, and the more infinite space we can embody, that's what will help to move the stuck energy, move the blocks and barricades, the barriers around us that seem to limit us, limit how much we can know or discover or rediscover about our soul purpose and about the meaning of life and who you are and why you're here. And those are, it's great that you're asking these open-ended questions, because that's how we can
Mhm.
really transform from the inside out,
Mhm.
instead of concluding or assuming, or I should say deciding, that we already know everything. Because and really, as infinite beings, we kind of already have all this information inside of us. So as infinite beings, meaning that we're not finite, we're infinite. So we know everything already. The
Mhm.
problem is, in our this earth realm, we're taught to not know. And that creates a lot of struggle and suffering, right? So that we're always confused and we don't trust ourselves. We're doubting the information that we actually know to be true, right? So, this is also another spiritual practice, trusting your own intuition and never doubting what you actually already know, right? And then, as empaths, we also want to practice spiritual discernment. Spiritual discernment meaning, you know, how to
Mhm.
discern the difference between others' energies, their thoughts, their feelings, their beliefs and stories, and ours. Because as empaths, we're like cosmic sponges, right? And so
Huh.
we absorb like even all the pain, the stress, the trauma, especially from people that we live with or work with, because we don't want other people to suffer. And e- these energies and memories live on in our cells, in our muscles, and our organs and DNA. So, especially if you were around people who were really, really struggling growing up. And so
Mm.
that's why we need to do the inner work to release, to clear, and to uh melt away all of these energies that are passed on from generation to generation, that really that continue to live on in our bloodline, in our blood and bones, even in our thousands of cells. So it's really important that it's great that you're asking, who am I, why am I here, and sometimes if you oftentimes if you don't do the grounded inner work and ask,
Mhm.
and revisit your childhood, revisit your ancestral lineage, and remove the masks, unmask,
Mhm.
the lies and stories that you were told growing up. Unless you are willing to do that work, which is a process, it's not going to happen overnight, then it's almost going to be impossible to really answer your questions. So there are
Very
no
true.
shortcuts here, right? Because when we try to create shortcuts, we what we do is we wind up spiritually bypassing the important work that needs to be done
Mm.
before we can receive those answers from the higher realms, from our higher self, because there is a part of us that is ancient and immortal, right? It's our wise and well, like perfected self, our emotionally intelligent self. So unless we can make contact and ask and have a two-way conversation with that part of you, do you know what I mean? Then if you're
Mhm.
just in your monkey mind, your busy brain, you're not going to really get anywhere. So you'll wind up spinning around in a looping system that is often impossible to break free of.
Mhm. Yep,
Yeah.
that makes sense. That makes sense, Vandana. And I also believe that, uh, first of all, what you mentioned, that is really, 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 really empowering and liberating. And secondly, uh, nobody can give you the answers. You
Right.
only have to find those answers. But yes,
Yes.
someone out there will definitely give you that guidance to, help you better
Yes.
on that path.
Yes, I call it like the missing link, right? Like the missing
Mhm.
information. Um and also what you just said, it's very, yeah. w- We can become our own guru, our own teacher, our own guide, right? That's the ultimate
Mm.
reason why we're actually here. And if
Mm.
we don't identify and remove or rewrite those soul contracts, then we're just going to keep cycling in, in these illusions and confusion. So that's another topic. I actually have a class coming up this Saturday about it.
Oh, wow.
How to discern the difference between false light and pure light, you know?
Mm.
Because many people in the metaphysical community, especially, and in many religious and spiritual traditions, have actually been, not all, uh, ha- they've been creating a unhealthy or toxic codependency on them,
Yes.
because
Yes.
they tell us that we can never know the answers. Only they have the answers. Only they have these gifts, right? But this is false. So this is what I call false light imposter beings. And they tend to hijack our self-trust and self-awareness. So then we start, it's almost like we're experiencing with these type of false leaders in communities. We're experiencing a form of gaslighting, right? So we can't make a decision or a move or, come up with any helpful solutions if we are codependent on them, right? If we feel like we need to be rescued because we still feel unworthy or broken.
Exactly.
And these are also lies and stories that's why we need to have a safe and trusted spiritual friend or a guide or a teacher, or a healer to work with you, because we have all of us have blind spots, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
creates thousands of pain points, and it creates thousands of trap doors and blocks where we can never achieve or we can never um yeah, we can never achieve self-realization. So I'm all about self-empowerment. So when I work with the galactics, with the cosmic, with my cosmic spirit teams, they're the ones that really deeply we've had lifetimes together before, and
Mm-hmm.
usually when you find your spirit guide, whether it's an earth guide or an ascended master, like, or it's someone that you worked with in another incarnation from your home planet or star system, you have to make sure you have to ask the right questions on your journey to finding your soul's guide, the guide that has been with you from lifetime to lifetime and in between lifetimes, that's working on teaching you and mentoring you about, like, what is your soul theme? What is your soul lesson? We're all born with our own unique spirit team, you know? We all have a soul guide, and the the problem is that we're not taught that. And so many of us as children, we play with them, right? We have those invisible friends, so to
Imaginary.
speak,
Yeah.
right? Right. And they can be a guardian angel. There are a special group of angels and archangels. These guardians overlight all children and protect all children. So many times these invisible friends are, they're actually our spirit guides, but we're yelled at, we're screamed at, we're told that we're crazy. Like, no, no, like you're talking, it looks like you're talking to yourself. That's crazy. You can't do that. So the idea here is to maintain a very safe and supportive relationship with our guidance systems. And you know, but you have to ask the right questions, like, hey, if you sense the presence, like of spirit, what, and you don't know who it is, you want to just not shut down, but really open up and ask the right questions, like, who are you? Not who am I, but who are you? Why are you here? Are you meant to help me? What is your name? Why have you come? Right? So you want to trust your body's sensations to guide you to the right guides. Because if you feel unsafe or unwell in any way, then that means that they're not meant for you. They're just passing through,
Exactly.
right? So very important to get a nod or a gentle, just a feeling that that you're safe, that you're held, that you're supported by these guardians, right? And you don't necessarily have to be able to see them. You just feel them, right? Or just know they're around, right? Especially if you have a scary experience or you have an accident or an injury, just notice, like, the feeling that someone or something is watching over you, whether you'd like to call it the universe, God, Buddha, Allah, whoever you resonate with, whatever energy you resonate with, there is a higher power, right? So it's important to trust, or else you might wind up with, someone that might even, well, you're not going to benefit from it, and they might even be taking advantage, if it's not the right guide or teacher of your heart. Yes, 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 yes,
So
please.
first of all, you are taking a great initiative because what I don't know. I'm not generalizing anything, but I have observed this that uh, we carry the baggage. Especially people who have grown up in dysfunctional families or have traumatic childhood experiences.
Mhm,
um, they often are susceptible uh, to, asking for more, power or more energy just to
mhm.
feel safe and valued, externally validated. And
Yes.
sometimes they're kind of, that open portal for the and energies who are not there to support you or help you, but to
Mhm.
kind of, make you fall into a trap or, greed. Uh,
Mhm,
so
mhm.
that's, I think, it's a very interesting observation, or maybe I've
Yeah.
read or I've seen into
Mhm.
some accounts shared by people. So that's, I think you really touched a very, very important point that we need to ask
Mhm.
the right questions to make
Yeah.
sure, that our spirit guide or the
Yeah.
spirit with whom we are interacting, they are there to help us, guide us.
Yeah.
Not yourself.
Because these galactic light beings are actually higher versions. These are higher versions of ourselves, of the human species, right? So these are the ones that are advanced light beings, right? They've already learned their lessons. They've ascended. They're enlightened, right? So we want to call on this team, on this group of beings, right? And then many times they are our, teachers and guardians for multiple lifetimes in multiple dimensions, even parallel realities. So
Mm,
the when I work with the Arcturians, I know that they are here to help our planet survive and get through this timeline and
mm,
ascend into a higher dimensional timeline where there is no separation, where it's based on loving kindness, compassion, and equality for all beings, not just some. Right. So I always love working with the Arcturian light doctors. I call them spirit surgeons. I call them shamans. And these are ascended beings that are always over lighting us, always watching over us, right? Because they know that at any moment we can all disappear, you know? And that's just a fact, like that's a harsh reality. Well, of course, we hope it's never going to happen, right? But we all need these protector beings, these allies on our side, right? Because they make it a lot easier. They give us the tools and the information that our reality and society will never know, right? So we want to unmask all of the illusion on the planet so we can have freedom, right? And liberation from suffering. So, yeah, thank you, Sana.
mm, mm, mm. Wow, that is interesting. Very interesting and very practical as well, Vandana. And another practical way in which you, help people um, invite raising vibration uh,
Mhm.
through higher dimensions. So I would like to understand, how does it look like in everyday life? Let's say for me, um, what should I do so that, I can raise my vibrations through higher dimensions?
Well, that's a great question. And this is why I record all of my healing transmissions
Oh,
since 2015. So for the last 10 years. And
wow.
all of my recordings on exactly this topic are available on my website in my I call in my divine light library to accelerate your light, to help you shine your light, right? To come out of the spiritual closet, so to speak. And so these replays were meant to these recordings, right? They never weaken or diminish over time. They're actually called evergreen, so they live on and on. They live on. The power and the energies of the healing frequencies live on even way beyond you do, right? And they're available with lifetime access, and you can listen at your own pace, right? In your own time. I always recommend listening to, I have over 300 healing
Wow.
transmissions. You can listen. My clients tell me at night before they go to bed, right?
Wow.
They wind up sleeping better. They're releasing a lot of density, a lot of heaviness, a lot of worry, stress, and anxiety, especially for people who can't seem to sleep at night, right? Or sleep very, have sleep issues because of all of the trauma and the drama that's playing out in real time right in front of our eyes on social media that we can see happening in the world that we have no control over. So it helps us to release a lot of that extra weight, energetic weight while we're sleeping. And then during meditation, some people can't meditate in silence. I know it's very hard for me to. So I like to have some type of a recording that will calm and regulate my nervous system on in the background. So a lot of people listen. Sometimes I have healing music in the background, but all of these recordings are meant to work overtime to really help you to dissolve all the walls, barriers, and blocks to your own soul's ascension process so life can be easier on this earth. A lot of people work with me privately. So I would just help to unravel and point out and identify all of those chakra blocks and all of those stories and the lies that you've adopted, right? That were passed on to you from your ancestors because we have the blind spots. So it's very difficult, because of our ego stuff to do this on our own. So whether, you work with me in a package of sessions or in a group live transmission that I have every weekend, as I mentioned, I have the false light versus true light transmission coming up this Saturday at noontime on the East Coast. But everything is available for you to receive the support that you deserve and the closure, right? So you can end the cycle of suffering for you and your ancestors, right? Very difficult to do this alone. It's not recommended to grieve the loss you've experienced and the betrayal and the gaslighting and the dysfunction that you've been around, the insanity all of your life, even for those who have had the perfect ideal of childhood and, you know, very loving and caring, nurturing upbringing, we all have those doubts. We all have our insecurities, right? And if we are in a fear based existence, if we're living in a fear based existence and constantly in fight or flight mode or freeze mode, then we tend to eventually shut down. But then we can become so, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Um,
Vulnerable, susceptible.
well, boundaries, I think you mentioned, yes, we need to practice healthy, safe boundaries, but we can, excuse me, fall prey to uh, non serving, less than kind and loving energies that are out there. And these energies are not meant to hurt or harm us intentionally. These energies, we live in a very mixed world. So we have a lot of dimensions. But I think what I want to say is that if we fall in fear or despair or desperation, we're not using our highest guidance and wisdom, right?
Yeah.
And we're not making the best and the highest choices and decisions. And we're not using our spiritual discernment to connect with the right support system or help out there. So that can be another trap. So it's very important that you do things for yourself to keep your spirits high, to keep your vibration vast, right? You want to connect with people, places, situations that are good for you, that are healthy, right? You want to spend time in nature every day as much as possible. You want to exercise to move the stuck energy. But most importantly, you want to surround yourself with the most benevolent and kind and compassionate support system and network, right? So that's it. I mean, it's a very simple solution, but many of us are isolating, which is really problematic. We're cutting ourselves off from ourselves, from our higher selves, our wisdom, our own guidance and intuition, and from others. And this is not living, this is slowly dying, right? So we want to get outside, we want to connect, even on a Zoom call like we're doing now, because we are meant to do that. We're tribal beings. So we're not meant to handle all of these problems alone. So there's no shame in asking for help. And the interdimensional beings, the right beings for you, whether it's your star ancestors or star teachers or cosmic guardians, they're all available behind the scenes. We just have to be open enough and trust enough in our own gifts and abilities to access them.
Yeah. What a beautiful conclusion here. And then, of course, once again, if our listeners they would like to connect with you, what would be the easiest way?
Yes, the best way, the easiest way to connect with me is to find me on my website, which is Vandana Light Healing. That's V like victory, Andana, Vandana lighthealing.com. You can subscribe to my newsletters where I send a lot of helpful tips and important information to help through, especially this month, because this month there are a lot of planetary challenges, eclipses. We just had a
Yeah.
full blood moon, total lunar eclipse, which brings up a lot of emotions, a lot of difficult feelings that are still unprocessed, makes
Mm-hmm.
us feel it's like magnifying everything, right? It's amplifying all the energies out there. So for empaths, this can be a very challenging time. And also we have a solar eclipse coming up as well as an equinox this month. So there's a lot of planetary activity going on. And for the sensitives out there, this can be quite challenging. So please ask for help. Reach out to me and or you, Sana, like, you know, even just tuning into a spiritual podcast like you have, right? The Healthy Mind, the Cosmic Confidence, all of your podcasts are so can be such a great resource and support system. Yeah. So you're not alone, even though you may feel like it, and you have way more gifts, powerful gifts and abilities than you've ever been told were even possible. It's just a question of rediscovering them. And this is possible. It's not too late. So vandanalightshealing.com, my YouTube channel where I have lots of meditations, and my adult child in recovery podcast, especially if you've had a difficult childhood. So that is Vandana Light Healing too on YouTube. And yeah, I'm all over social media. I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram, but all of my channels are called Vandana Light Healing.
That's really uplifting. And I'll make sure to have all the details in the show notes. So whenever I
Oh,
listeners at
yes. I would love to share the link for my upcoming False Light versus True Light program this Saturday. If that's possible, I can share it with you later. Yeah, thank you. The more people that are aware of this phenomenon, the more we can unmask the false light to expose the false light, then we can really heal, right? And then we can avoid a lot of negative karmic influences from replaying in our lives, right? So, knowledge is power. Yeah. So, the more you know, the more powerful you'll feel, the more confident you'll feel, right? So, thank you so much for having me on your show today.
thank you. Thank you so much, Vandana. And to everyone listening, all I wish to say that you don't need to have all the answers to begin. Sometimes raising your vibration starts with a single breath, a single act of self kindness, or a single moment of believing that you are supported, seen and unseen. Until then, this is Cosmic Confluence, and keep listening, keep questioning, and keep remembering that you belong not just to this earth, but to the stars themselves. Thank you.